They banned all of the free thinkers, those doing positive in the community, and they left behind all these predatory guys that just want to, extract their blood for their rituals, which is what's happening. So, we gotta win them over. We gotta get them back to God. It's part of this, and it totally vindicates me too about the self improvement shit. By the way, because self improvement is obviously not everybody that pushes self improvement in this way, but this whole Nietzschean overcoming, improve myself, this autonomy, individualism stuff. It's just like reheated liberal Jew propaganda. This save yourself, pull yourself up by your bootstraps. I can solve all my problems by being a stoic. It's like, no, you can't. The only problem you have is sin. That's the only real problem that anyone has, is sin. And the only way to save yourself from it is to repent and to ask for God's grace and to pray and to be a Christian. This idea that, and it was the same story with that naive fellow. He goes, I was depressed and my life was bad, and then I read this book. Isn't that always how the story goes? A substitute for communion with God and meaning is improving my material lot and changing my attitude. My life sucks. Then I read this book that told me to take control of my own destiny. You can't take control of your own destiny. You can to some extent. But what happens when, like, a freak accident happens and you get hit by a drunk driver? I love when I hear that kind of stuff, because the history of my family is a series of unfortunate events, basically. What happens? Okay, you're the master of your own destiny. You got your fucking whey protein shake and you drove to the gym. And what happens on your way out? You get hit by a stray bullet and your brain damage the rest of your life. Master your own destiny. Well, again, that's not to say that random things happen, therefore don't try. That's not the message. The message is, if your ontology, if your like philosophical worldview is based on, I can improve myself and I shouldn't be depressed because the meaning of life is improving myself, is making myself the best I can be. To what end? Who knows? For greatness in itself, for some convoluted reason, for some surrogate reason, who knows? But if your philosophy, why we're here, why we strive, is for the sake of striving in itself, and the potential or the ability for us to do that, well, it's kind of a fundamental problem that we don't have control over our lives at all. Like, that's kind of a problem. That's a great theory if you're tall and good looking and you're going to the gym and you got money in your pocket and all that. What happens when, like, something's going really wrong? What happens when you're disabled? What happens when you got a chronic illness? What happens when something beyond your control happens? Then it's sort of like, well, now your whole reason for living, which was improving yourself, seems like absurd, actually. You went from, you wanted to get a 400 max bench press or whatever to, now you're trying to learn how to walk, or now you're trying to relearn how to eat or something. And what's the explanation contained in there for that? For the weak should fear the strong. Well, bad things happen and everyone gets old and loses their capability. Okay, now what? You're going to the afterlife. You can't take anything with you. You really can't take much through life as a vessel or as a vehicle. So you're going to need something that's a little bit more than that. And that's always been the problem with self-help, is that it is a shadow of liberalism. It's a shadow of, and in some sense, of Judaism, which says that, like, through rituals and through acts and through our own adherence to rules, we can save ourselves and make ourselves better or save the world or something. It's a very Jewish idea. And it's also a very liberal and secular idea. And ultimately it's a substitute and a surrogate for a complete and whole worldview that explains why we're really here and where we're really going, and why and what really motivates us and why we act. We don't act to improve ourselves materially. That's not what people do, actually.